And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott is out today. I guess it's a Cyber Monday thing. He's trying to get all the good deals.
It is Cyber Monday.
So he had to stay home so he can search Amazon to make sure Jake got all the good deals because he hates to miss out on a good deal. So he's going to need a recovery day tomorrow, so we'll have Jake back coming up on Wednesday. But that familiar laugh is, of course, Mr. Patrick Kinahan sitting in for this first segment. What's up, PK?
Well, man, this is a great time of year for our business, and any time is a great year, or any whatever I'm trying to say, you get the point. That so much is happening here. Seasons converge, the coaching carousel in college football. You know, it is so crazy, Ben. College football has so many things wrong with it, but yet it flourishes at almost like the highest levels that the sport could possibly flourish at. It's like we can't get in the way of all the things that screw the game up.
It's almost like a fungus. The worse the conditions are, the better it grows. You know, the worse things are, it seemingly, like you said, flourishes and gets bigger and bigger. And all these somewhat perceived, and I think this is an interesting point because this is how I have felt about BYU, unfortunately, for the last really couple of weeks. Now this week, and added on with the Kalani Sitake stuff, which is what we're going to talk about. But this should ideally be like the celebration.
Right.
This should be the most joyous time, and not just for BYU, but for all of college football.
Right.
And it's just drama. It's just one day after another of the Lane Kiffin saga, and that opens up this job, and then who goes where, and
it's junior high relationships.
You're exactly right. This should be the time of your life because you're 16 and you have your first car, and it's like, no, you're actually there's infighting with all of your friends constantly.
Yeah, and it's crazy that every year we should be talking about what does BYU need to do, A, to beat Texas Tech, B, what do they need to do in that game to be in the playoff. And it's like that's secondary, and that sucks, but you have to go with the news judgment being the bigger stories as they are, and that's what we're left here. And the Lane Kiffin thing, didn't that seem like a month? And it's like, and we knew he was going to take it. LSU, come on. I mean, there's just so many. I covered a game, Utah State. It was the Saturday before 9/11, and I covered a game there. And I had gotten down there. The newspaper had sent me to the Bees. They may have been called the Buzz. They were going to play the New Orleans team in the playoff. So I made my reservation like on the Tuesday before the Saturday game, and something happened. The Bees gagged at the end. They don't go. And the newspaper says, well, it costs too much to change it. Can you still go? So I'm down there on Tuesday for a game that's on Saturday. I was going nuts, but I got a real good flavor for the Baton Rouge community and how passionate it is for football. And the tailgating started to begin on Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's one of the jobs.
Yeah.
It's one of the jobs. You have to take it if you're Lane Kiffin. I don't blame him at all for doing that. And that's, the question about Penn State. Is Penn State one of the jobs you have to take when it opens up? And before we even get into that, I think your point is interesting about, we should be talking about what does BYU have to do to get into the college football playoff. I even hate that. That's what I hate. BYU is in the best spot they have been in how long? You tell me honestly. When was BYU last in a better position than they are today? When were they last playing a bigger game than this?
Oh,
was it
man,
the Cotton Bowl?
maybe I was going to go 96. Yeah.
So we're talking about 30 years. We're talking about longer than Christian's been alive. Our producer.
I like to bring that up about him.
This is the biggest BYU game of Christian's life. And you're right. The fungus that is college football is that all we're worrying about is, what a lousy season if they don't beat Texas Tech. You know, what a disappointment, how rotten it is and how much they've been cheated. I really dislike that about college football, but it is the talking point, and it's not just fodder. It is the system. It is what the system has created and been designed to do to create this type of conversation.
Yeah, and Saban went off and defended Kiffin, and then there was thought, Saban's got the same agent as Kiffin does, blah, blah, blah. You got all that. I mean, everyone brings biases to whatever we do. We like to say we're not. You try to minimize those biases as much as possible, but we've all got them. We're all human. And that's what we are talking about. And I heard last week that there was at least some form of mutual interest. I think it was like Wednesday. But I thought, well, maybe it's more Penn State interest because they've got to check out who the hot coaches are. Because that's another thing, too. You've got to get the splash.
You got to get the name.
You can't just get somebody who is going to be really good and who's going to work his butt off to make the job be what it is and have all sorts of success. But who knows? Who knows who's good, who isn't? Kurt Signetti, Who? What? 63 years old? Come on, man. And look at him. He's taking a basketball school to, at least in my lifetime, and I'm 5 times older than Christian. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, so I don't even say it. I mean, I'm way older than him. I mean, I'm like his grandfather age.
He says that about you.
Yeah, that's why I like to make fun of him. He texted me the other day, the last Utah home game. Are you going to get sound? You going to send us sound for a Utah game? I texted back, are you ugly? I mean, come on. You got to ask me if I'm going to. I don't ask him, are you going to produce the show today? But he does that every time. It bugs the crap out of me, these kids. I show up, man. Come on. So you got all these things going on. And Signetti at a basketball school. Bob Knight throwing chairs. Step aside, Bob Knight. We got Kurt Signetti now. Yep. And he's not a Looney Tune like you are or were. Obviously, he's deceased. And so who knew that was going to be the transformational hire of all hires?
Yeah. Certainly nobody. It's truthfully nobody.
Indiana?
Right. The number 2 seed in the country.
Undefeated?
Already locked up a playoff team.
Yeah.
Has a real chance to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten
title
game. So it's fascinating. What is interesting to me, and maybe you can explain this to me. Why is Kalani not a splashy name? Why is he getting this label of not being one of the hot names in college football compared to the Signettis of the world? He's relatively young. He's only 50 years old, so ideally there's plenty of runway there. But he's not a one-hit wonder. He's not a flash in the pan. And he brings a program that's built on real things, just defense, running the ball. They've developed NFL quarterbacks. Conceptually, I think he brings a incoming sophomore quarterback with him, brings a good offensive coordinator with him. I don't know why Kalani doesn't get more of that splashy name tag.
I think it might be the ghost of Lavelle Edwards. Lavelle Edwards, what was it, 80, I don't know, 83, 84? Was it maybe the 84 season? Mm-hmm. Obviously, they went undefeated that year. But he was this close to taking the Detroit Lions job, which actually went to Darryl Rogers, who was the Arizona State coach at the time. And he went there and coached the Lions. And I've heard recruiters tell me this over the years, that they're hesitant, and it's changed, I'm sure, to a degree, but they're hesitant to spend a lot of time and money on recruiting Latter-day Saint kids who are being offered by BYU. Because there's this pull there, not for all of them, certainly not for all of them, but for a lot of them, there's a pull there. That's my church school. And many of them, that's where my parents met. We all know the stories of you meet your spouse at college, blah, blah, blah. And so in the end, that's where they're happiest. And for a lot, that's been the case, right? And so you have Kalani Sitake makes no bones, as he should, because it ingratiates him, plus it's real, that he is a clone of Lavelle Edwards. He has his own style.
Of course.
I mean, Lavelle Edwards are going to be dancing along these south sidelines as he enters the stadium and goes into the locker room, but that's who Kalani is, and so be who you are. And so the thought being that, hey, this is a kid who played there to an extent, grew up beforehand, often talks about his BYU fandom. The family is all there, blah, blah, blah. And so does he really want to uproot himself from that situation to go on the other side of the country or wherever it might be?
Yeah.
I always thought that Harlan jumped the gun on that, but I always thought he would be an ideal candidate for Utah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's not a big move. And at the time, I think that's fleshed out because they were independent and Utah wasn't.
Right.
And we didn't know, eventually we know what's happening now. And now the programs, I think, have been brought back.
Well, for a while, Utah was a better job, and I don't think you can make that argument anymore.
Dominant over BYU.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's leveled out with BYU being in the conference. So I think there might be some there as far as that goes. And you'd have to ask Kalani and his agent, how much have they pushed it? Whittingham, he's turned down jobs. He's talked about that. But people knew, and I stood on Little League football sidelines with Kyle 25 years ago, that one of the things
Were you coaching him, or what was going on?
I wasn't coaching him about football. Yeah. Might be some other stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Tone it down a little bit.
Okay.
and the guy has progressed to the level that has been remarkable. He's got everybody in the palm of his hands.
Yeah.
But one of the things that he is most proud about, the wins and the money, they're great, no doubt about it. But he loves to tell you that his children all went to the same elementary school, junior high, and high school. They had a normal life as if he were a school teacher and a high school coach. They didn't have to move around as we see these coaches do, right? And so I think that is impeded. Whereas Majerus, you were probably too young, but you certainly know of it. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry who had an opening, sure.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, right.
Because what was he going to do? Sit in the hotel room by himself?
Yeah, right. No big deal. Whatever.
Right. So he entertained everything. And I had recruits, more than one, who went to the NBA tell me, because I was a beat writer for the newspaper at the time, tell me I would love to come there, but I don't know that he's going to be there. And these are kids that literally played in the NBA. And I can tell you their names later. And you would know them. I'm sure. There's no question you would know them. And so that hampered the recruiting a little bit, because do I want to go there? And in those days, you couldn't just transfer and be eligible immediately, right? You had to sit out. And if you'd already redshirted, that you lose a year. And they were pretty tight about that stuff. So I think that with Kalani, and that there's a lot of that same type of character. And if you look at, Kyle will tell you his mentors, his number one is his father, Big Fred, and Lavelle Edwards, Ron McBride, Urban Meyer. Okay, well, Kalani, clearly Lavelle Edwards, clearly Ron McBride, clearly Kyle Whittingham. So they're kind of cut from the same mold. So I think that limits his attractive ability. But if Penn State wants to lure him and he decides to go, I'm going to be a Penn State fan.
I'm with you. I'm a Kalani fan, so it will be easy to root for him wherever he goes, even though historically I've not really been much of a Penn State fan. But I think with the changing landscape of college football and what actually matters now, which is the NIL money, the money you can pay, how you can support your assistant coaches. Yeah. I don't know how much he learned from Witt, or he learned from Lavelle, or he learned from Ronnie McBride, how applicable those are. It's certainly in your spirit.
I think your foundation is built on that.
It is. But everything else around you has changed. And I do think the best coaches, and I think Kalani is a hell of a coach. I think Kalani's a really, really high-level coach.
You're going 22-3.
Yeah, you obviously know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Those guys can win. Those guys win wherever they go. I think what I don't like about this whole conversation is this idea that Kalani can only win because he can only recruit LDS kids, which is so clearly not the case. Or he can only recruit Polynesian players, which is so clearly not the case either. Kalani's just a winner. I think Kalani's going to win wherever he coaches, which is why it would be such a massive loss for BYU if he were to leave. But I'm not sure it applies to him the way it may some other coach that we've talked about. And even then, look at the coaches at BYU in recent history. Mark Pope left and is having success at Kentucky, and Bronco left and had success at Virginia. He's also seen those guys leave and do more, and recognizes, I think, that you don't have to stay at BYU if you want to try to fight for something, maybe not bigger, but something different. And I wouldn't criticize him if he thought you have a bigger opportunity to win at Penn State than you do BYU.
Yeah, and he put in 10 years. 10 years is a long time, for sure, if you're at a place. He would be greatly missed because you lose one of your own. And when you have one of your own, it means more because it means more to them. Like I'm an ASU guy, everybody knows that, and Dillingham's an ASU guy. And I've watched them for 40 years hire these outsiders. And it's like, well, if you have success, you're going to go on to another job. And if you don't, you're going to get fired anyway.
Yep.
And maybe Dillingham fools us all. And in 2 or 3 years after he's built up a little bit of a run, maybe he takes off to Georgia or wherever. You never know. Florida State, where he actually did coach. But you got one of your own, and when he says this place means something to me, it's not, because of the paycheck. It runs deeper. And the fans, it runs extremely deep. You know this as well as anybody covering the Jazz. These fans, and they're going through so much struggle now as the team repeatedly loses and arguably played the worst game that they've played yesterday since the masterpiece of Dog Bleep, which I think was against Houston also, wasn't it?
I think it was Dallas.
Was it Dallas?
But, yeah,
down in Texas. Yeah. Okay. So
that was a masterpiece of dog shit.
Yeah, and you are interacting with them much more than I am as far as how much it's just I don't want to say killing them. That's strong.
It's painful.
But how much it bothers them that this team sucks after 20 years of high quality, and more than that, because obviously Quinn Snyder had a couple of good teams there, and so now they don't. And with that in mind, the fan of BYU doesn't draw the paycheck. He and she, they draw the allegiance. And to have one of your own say, I think I got a better situation over there, I think that becomes, even though they can hire Jay Hill, and I think Jay Hill will do a masterful job, that becomes Brian Santiago's first crisis.
I do think the Jay Hill
maybe the Retzlaff was
net, one. Retzlaff was certainly a big one. The Jay Hill safety net plays an interesting part in this as well. Should note quickly, John Bryce, who writes for footballscoop.com, which generally does a very good job of breaking some of these stories, is just reporting now that sources tell Football Scoop that Bob Chesney has informed James Madison players that he will be departing for a new job. Doesn't say which job, but we know that Bob Chesney,
he's on the list.
From James Madison, has been, in conversation with UCLA and Penn State.
Yeah.
So we will see which of those jobs he's likely taking.
And Kalani's going to speak here in an hour because the conference is having the two coaches, and we're going to carry it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we should be carrying it. I was going to fire Lloyd if he didn't get that job done. And with that in mind, I got power, Christian. Don't look at me that way, buddy. And
don't ask him to get sound anymore. Otherwise, you're next.
Yeah, you give me that donut, would you? And Kalani's going to be asked about it.
Yes.
And right off the bat, if it's Chesney that he can go, and obviously that's more regionally located, closer to Pennsylvania than we are.
Yep.
But that would put an end to it. And hopefully for BYU's sake, that they've poured some more resources into the program, because you don't win by accident. You've got to have everything. You know that old argument with the Bulls, was it the players or the organization? Mm-hmm. And I used to say yes, because it's both.
Yeah, of course.
It's everything.
Yeah.
And you need everything. And you don't always have to be best buddies, but you need everything. And BYU's going to need everything to make that next step, because Texas Tech has got everything. And Texas Tech ain't backing down. And you go out there, and you've had a great season, but if you go out there and get mauled again, that's bad. That shows you there is a massive difference between you and Texas Tech, and you can't have that.
I wouldn't blame Kalani at all if he was sick of the Big 12 conversation. As funny as it is that they've only been there for three seasons now, that this is going to be an uphill battle every year to try and get even two teams in. And if there is a team like Texas Tech above you that is willing to spend whatever it takes to be the most competitive or to be the best, I wouldn't blame Kalani if he says, why is the fourth best Big Ten team have a more realistic shot of getting to the playoff than I do? I wouldn't blame him.
If you look at it that way, I mean, Penn State has been in the playoff as recently as last year.
Yeah.
So they've got an outstanding program and have had it. I mean, Franklin has a couple losses out the door. It's mind-boggling. And that is a little bit of a downside. BYU stuck with Kalani through two losing seasons, one of which, he was mandated that he take a certain inexperienced coach who had a big name but wasn't cut out for the job.
Right.
And I think I can tell this story now. So when they announced Jeff Grimes go down to the press conference, and a certain athletic director who's retired, when the press conference,
a lot of thinly veiled hints you're throwing out.
Played
here.
in the NFL for many years, Coach Dion. He makes a beeline, comes right over to me, and gets 2 inches from my face, and says, this is Kalani's hire now.
Yeah.
A little bit of, and I had no problem with it. No problem. So you can basically, my point is, you can sort of overlook that first losing season. But then 2 years ago, they're like, oh my gosh, are they going to suck in this conference? And they sucked that year.
Yeah.
But then, wow, the last 2 years, and they have the best record in conference. Now Texas Tech has overtaken them a little bit. But yeah, what type of commitment? And another thing, Ben, that I've learned through conversations is that the basketball people were getting so much love with Pope, and he was getting contract extensions, and Kalani was waiting. It was so dramatic in the locker room. We've extended Kalani. I was like, well, that, and the reason why there was so much exuberance, because there was a possibility of that wasn't going to happen, and yet with Pope, it's like, here's another contract, and he got a little bit bugged by that. And now with Kevin Young, I mean, they opened up doors that were never even opened before, and you look at their sideline, man. If it's black or gray, there's like 20 people in black or gray on the bench. They used to be the bare minimum.
Yep.
It was like Rob Ramos was the only guy who wasn't a coach, and that was it. Now you got all these people, and again, you got to make sure that you are competing. And the problem with the competing financially is the goalposts move all the time. We were laughing when Bronco at his press conference with Tom 10, well, it's longer than that now, 11 years, I guess. We go down, maybe it's 10. We go down on a Friday, first Friday of December. It got me out of a Christmas party that I was glad that I didn't have to go to. But we went down and covered the thing. And Tom was saying, well, we can't match what Virginia was going to pay, which is like 3.5. That's nothing
It's
now.
nothing now. Yeah, right.
That's just in 10 years.
Yep.
What's it going to be in 10 more years? Is it going to be, I mean, you two, it'll be the Christian and Ben show from 6 to 10.
Well, that's going to be Christian money in 10 years. Yeah, right.
I'll be dead, but you guys are going to be laughing. Man, they're paying these guys $25 million a year.
Oh, I mean, Lane's making 13 now. By the way, Bob Chesney is headed to UCLA.
There
He
you
is
go.
not headed to Penn State, so it looks like that Penn State job remains open. And Bob Chesney was one of the big names. He's one of the dominoes to fall that was apparently also in conversations, at least with Penn State. So this continues on.
The drama heightens.
It doesn't stop. We will talk to Pete Futak, National College Football writer, coming up at 11. And, of course, we'll carry the Big 12 press conference, including Kalani Sitake, coming up at 11:30. PK, thanks for hanging out.
Is that it? You wanted me for one segment?
Well, you can hang as long as you want.
Well,
but we
Christian
just
was talking about 3 hours.
Yeah, you're going to hang out for the first
Well,
hour.
I think
of
he wanted me.
Scotty.
He wanted me to get him lunch.
Okay, yeah. Get him sound and get him some lunch.
Yeah, like I'm the guy's servant. I did. Before we go, I got to tell one story that I went down to St. George for the weekend. I told this earlier this morning, and we're out golfing, and these two guys. Guy asked me, "Are you retired?" I said, "No, still going strong, still love the gig." And well, what do you do? And he's with his son who's in his 30s. And I tell him, and they look at me. I said, yeah, I have a radio show. I work for a radio show. And the son who's in his 30s, probably, maybe 40, he looks at me. Oh, are you a producer? No, I'm not. I'm on air. Ha, ha, ha. And I always downplay it, what I do. And my wife, have you ever heard of DJ and PK?
Oh.
And the dad, who was older than me, is retired from OC Tanner. Oh, yeah. I've heard it. I know who you are now. He says to me, but you don't talk a lot out here. Kind of the way I am. But in here, I'm a loudmouth blowhard.
You charge for the word when you're out on the street. Yeah.
Well,
you can't give it away for free.
I like to there's a lot of things I could say to that, but why don't we just go to break?
Top 3 stories. KSL Sports coming up next. PK, thank you so much.
Okay.
We'll be back. Stick around, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.